Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
For Pete's sake, what kind of a pathetic political joke did we put in the White House? Yes, it's a joke, but not at all funny. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning. Good morning. And a good morning to you and yours, Zeb at the Ranch, on this last day of March, March 31, and good morning to you. And thanks to our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with the best of a great big spring tire sale. You stop in and see them today. And along with our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Sean. Hey, by the way, if you could boost it up in my headsets just a little bit, it seems like it's cut back a little bit, if you would, please. Right now, it's time for the weather, and the weather brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Heyburn, right smack dab on the Burley-Paul Highway. You can't miss them. They've got all your spring needs for tools and equipment. Your rototillers to dig up the ground and get ready for the gardens, and they've got all the power rakes. And, oh, by the way, too, they got all the equipment to put in the sprinkler systems. All of this and so much more at K&R Rental with Roger and the crew. Number to call, 678-3122. Right now, here's Gina with the forecast.
Lots of sunshine and warming temperatures as we make our way through the week. Here is a look at your weather forecast. Today we are expecting sunny skies, a slight breeze out of the east, and a high of 57 tonight. Nice and clear with a low of 25. Tomorrow, sunshine, high of 69, a slight breeze out of the east. And for tomorrow night, clear skies with a low of 38. By Friday, sunny and 75. And by Saturday, looks like we could see a high of 80. That's your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Wow, I had to put a woo in there. I love that. Hey, good morning. Thank you, Gina. And the weather brought to you by K&R Rental, 256 South, 600 west of Heyburn on the Burley-Paul Highway. Don't forget they've got the best of tools and equipment to finish any kind of a task, and for both long and short-term rental. Not sure what you need, not sure how to do it? Give Roger a call. They'll help you. 678-3122, K&R Rental. Also want to give a great big thank you to Ramsey Heating and Electric. Absolutely. They have been with us ever since we started this program, and I've got absolutely the most respect for them and what they do, celebrating over 7 decades of serving the area. My goodness, for all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs. They're located at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, and they also get there early in the morning at 7:30 to 5, Monday through Friday. And no matter what you need for warm winters and cool summers, they've got it. And you can call them, too, 678-0459. Ramsey Heating and Electric, serving you. Oh, yes, I've got to get this in real quick before we take our first call. Tomorrow is a very big day It's an historic day because we're going to be celebrating our lunch bunch again as we've been laid off because of the COVID and everything else for almost a year. Well, we're going to be at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner, tomorrow at 11:30, 611 North Overland in Burley. We're going to have great prizes. We want to fill the place up, absolutely. Mad Hatter prize for the person that brings in and wears the wildest, weirdest hat. We're going to have a prize to the person that brings the most people with him, and door prizes. It's going to be April Fool's, but we're not kidding. It's going to be at Denny's Restaurant tomorrow, 611 North Overland in Burley. Come on down. 11:30 tomorrow. We're going to see you there. All right. Calls are welcome and appreciated. Here we go. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
You know, our Idaho contingency to Washington, D.C., we claim they're not doing anything, and they aren't. But why? Because it's not going to do them any good to make a good proposal for the Democrats to shut us down. Even if it got past the House and even past the Senate, this idiot that is running our country will veto it. How can we get around this?
Well, we're in a situation right now where all the power, P-O-W-E-R, sits at the fingertips of the Democrats. I am very, very concerned as to what we can do, what we can't do, what we should do, or what we might do. I don't know, Keith. I have never been more worried about America ever. Joe Biden is not a leader. He's not a president. He's not for us, the people. And this administration is a composite of evil as far as I'm concerned. I'm going to call it like it is. Nobody's going to try to stifle me. I think their aim is to bring America down to a third world poverty status. And if you don't believe it, just open your eyes, open your ears, read and listen and understand. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I do. But I do have a little bit of good news. I've got your wife's windmill repaired, and I will return it to you tomorrow.
All right, my friend. Hey, we really, really appreciate it. We enjoy that kind of thing. Deanne just loves watching that thing go round and round. Of course, with all the wind we had with the miles per hour, I'm surprised that thing didn't end up over in maybe someplace in Wyoming. Holy cow. Thank you, Keith. Always appreciate you.
I thought that wind would maybe bring some parts my way, but it didn't. But I was able to find some.
All right, my friend.
We're back in business.
Hey, we appreciate you. Thank you so much. God bless. Have a good day. Thank you. Calls welcome and appreciated, and you got to speak out, folks. I know that you might think, well, what good is it going to do? The more we speak out, the more we're heard, and we're heard all over the country. And by the way, I want to mention too that yes, we are heard all over the country. This program on the internet services, ZebBell.com, ZebBell.com, easy to remember. Tell your friends, neighbors, relatives, everybody, people you graduated from high school with. ZebBell.com. We are not going to weaken. I'm not going to back up. I'm not going to apologize for my opinions and my viewpoints, so have them tune in. Don't forget the 2021 48th Annual Salmon Select Horse and Mule Sale at the Lemhi County Fairgrounds up in Salmon. Oh, this is a ripping good happening. I mean, that whole week, they're going to have all kinds of activities, fun things for the whole family, along with the mule sale on Friday, April 1st, and I shouldn't say April 1st. That's an April Fool's joke. April 9th, there you go. And the horse sale the next day, Saturday, April 10th. The mule sale starts at 5 p.m. on Friday night, horse sale at 2 p.m. on the 10th, and this is Idaho's premier horse and mule sale. Call Fred Snook, my friend up there in Salmon, for more information, 756-2125. Annual, 48th Annual Salmon Select Horse and Mule Sale. All right, calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. We are going to be subjected to much higher taxes. I absolutely cringe when I see what's coming down the pike. Much higher taxes to pay for pathetic left-wing promotional programs that I think are going to break a lot of people, send a lot of business overseas, stop a lot of business. What is the sense? Now, somebody out there, and I've talked to a lot of economists on this program, my favorite being Dr. Michael Busler. What is the sense during the COVID absolute devastation, when people have had their businesses cut back, doors shut, and or open to only a limited percentage of people coming in, limited income, what is the sense to go out and tell the American public that this administration is going to create much, I'm talking a lot, higher taxes? And then at the same time, when people are trying to get out, people are trying to support local businesses, people are trying to resume a normal life, they've let energy costs go up to where fuel and gas and diesel up over $1 a gallon in just 2 months' time. They are absolutely crippling the American economy. They're allowing open borders. And this is the part that I get so upset about. And whether I say it every day or not, I don't care. We are subjected to all these rules and regulations. Thou shalt wear a mask. If we catch you, you will mask up. You will remain socially distanced from each other. And, of course, you will wash your hands and blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, and nobody can tell me I'm wrong, because I'm not, we're letting thousands of people across our border that are infected with the COVID-dreaded virus. And they are going to points all over the compass and spreading the COVID. Does this government put a limitation on where they're going? Do they follow them? Do they know? Are they harping at them in any language that they are from and say, put a mask on, social distance? No. Just us. And they are the super spreaders, these illegal aliens coming into this country. My goodness, if we, the American public, the taxpayers, are subjected to this lunacy of the COVID never going away, well, how can it when you leave the open borders and everybody is coming in from South and Central America, even as far away as China? You know, we're a dumbed-down society. Now, why are we a dumbed-down society? We haven't had our kids in many, many, many locations across the country in school for over a year, 13 months. A great way to take over a country and have complete control is to dumb the society down. Well, our poor kids are being held ransom. Oh, wait a minute. There are classes being taught by live teachers in a classroom setting in California and San Diego. Oh, I'm sorry, but these are to illegal aliens, not to American citizens. Good Lord, what's going on? And then the anti-white hatred. Oh, my goodness. The last couple of days, I have done some research on this with the asinine, and if you hear that this comes into your school system, regardless of the school, anywhere, anytime, the critical race theory, this is absolute trash. Trash. It is an anti-white hatred that absolutely wants to weaken and segregate our society, condemn and damn our Constitution, and create absolute turmoil in this United States. This is what this administration has brought to America in just a little over 2 months. Wow! Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir. Yeah, all the governors in the United States need to do what DeSantis has done. He has executive order said he will not teach critical race theory in
That's right.
schools.
Yep.
And everybody needs to get a hold of Governor Doolittle and tell him to do the same thing. Get a hold of your AG and tell them to sue the Biden administration for their unconstitutional executive orders.
Yeah. Doug, I want to stay with the critical race theory for just a moment. And again, Sean, I don't know why, but this morning in my headsets, I'm having a real hard time hearing. It's real low here coming on the feed. But critical race theory, if it is taught anywhere in this Magic Valley, if it's taught anywhere in the state of Idaho, and I find out about it, I'm going to go after that school. I'm going to go after that administration. I'm going to go after that school board. I am absolutely going to go after them like a junkyard dog. This is insanity that has to be stopped.
Exactly. All it is the KKK in reverse.
Yeah.
It's exactly what it is. They're not wearing white hoods. They're disguising themselves as a woke society, and they're not woke.
Yeah. Would you please take 30 seconds, not any more than that because they're not worth any more than that, and explain to the audience woke society? These are a bunch of drum-beating derelicts that haven't got the IQ of a dead cat laying on the road.
I can describe it in 3 words. They are fascists.
Yes.
That's it. Look up the word fascist. And that will tell you exactly what these guys are doing. If they don't like your thought, they are shutting you down. Just like Russia or Germany did with the Nazis. If they didn't like what you were saying, you were shut down.
Well,
it didn't matter who you were.
And the thing is, I'm very realistic that these crackpots probably are going to do all they can to get me off the air, which, you know what? I'm not going to count out to them. I'm not going to run scared. I'm not going to say, oh, woe is me. Oh, my goodness, somebody please help me. I'm not going to do any of that garbage. These people are vermin. I'm going to underline that word vermin, and they need to be defeated and thrown away like garbage.
Well, they are probably, I'd guess, maybe 5% of the society. Maybe that much. So why is 95% of us sitting here letting them do what they're doing?
I couldn't agree more.
Everybody needs to look up that movie, that documentary, No Safe Spaces.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, it will explain exactly what they're doing and what will happen if you do not agree with them. That documentary shows liberal professors who were thrown under the bus and eaten alive by the people who did not agree with what they were thinking, because those liberal professors didn't follow in footstep with what they wanted.
Have you ever in your life, especially on the college level, and I got a little feedback there, Sean, old buddy, I appreciate it. Have you ever in your life on the college level seen absolutely such a Marxist approach overall? I'm not saying 100%, but I'm saying overall as to what's being displayed on the college campuses today. It's an anti-American, anti-values system that absolutely employs what the far left is feeding them.
Well, look who they hire for professors.
Yeah.
They hire professors that have written books about how good socialism is, how good what they're trying to push, how good it is. When all they are communists trying to take this country down.
Well, there's no
here. They've been brainwashed, and they're trying to brainwash the youth.
We have in office right now the most evil, satanic, left group of monsters that could ever be assembled from this cabinet and this administration. Some people don't like what I just said. I don't care. That's the way I feel, and it's proving that it's absolutely 100% true every day when you get up and turn on the news.
Exactly. He's got a cabinet that is all yes men. They do not have a backbone to stand up and say, no, this isn't right. We need to do this. And it is all of the throwbacks from the Obama administration.
Yeah.
I mean, this is Obama 2.0. That's why I call it the Biden administration, because Biden is not pulling the strings and making the decisions. If he is, I will buy you a steak at Wick's.
Well, I'll tell you what, looks like you're not going to lose your money, because I'd have to be in total agreement with you that I think that the puppet strings are being pulled by two people. Number one, Barack Obama. Number two, Susan Rice. And actually, even above them, you've got to look right to the Mr. Evil, George Soros.
Exactly. That's exactly it. He's wanted to take America down. George Soros has for decades. And now he's got his opportunity, and he only has a year and a half to do it.
Amen. Doug, I got to run, but go ahead and deliver your $1 million spiel.
Well, I have a thought for the day, too. It says socialism where everybody starves equally.
That's a cynical laugh, not a laugh of humor. Believe me, it's so true.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, everybody, our senior centers need our help. I mean, with this COVID and their donations have dried up, and then the government has put laws in where you cannot deduct donations to people, but they still need donations. They still need help. So donate, volunteer, but go eat there and leave with a full tummy and a full heart.
My friend, and I mean that. Thank you very much, Doug. Appreciate it. God bless. I want to remind everybody about Dino Septic Service. I'm telling you, Ken and the crew, these are really good people, caring people, and they know that when you need a job done, they are there, Johnny on the spot, to take care of it. Absolutely. Septic tank pumping, backhoe services, septic tank and drain fields installed, mainline irrigation installation and repair. I'm telling you, these people are really good, and they cover all of southern Idaho. They are all over with the best of equipment and service. Call them at 436-6526 or 678-1638 in Twin 735-8281. Dino's Septic Service, with the big truck that says, "Smells cargo on the way." You give them a call today. Want to remind you, every Monday, Sean and I give away a dozen cookies on our program to Sophie's Chatterbox. And, of course, you answer the trivia question, and you'll win the cookies. Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert, right on the square. The best of bakery and the best of a restaurant, Sophie's Chatterbox. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. Give me a jingle on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. By the way, on a personal note, from watching some of the video that finally, the Biden administration didn't try to hide, and it was appalling. I am not above saying that it brought tears to my eyes, and it increased my anger against this administration sevenfold. Caller, stand by just a moment. I promise I'll be right with you. But when I saw the videos of these kids, little bitty kids, all the way up to teenagers, being forced into little cubicles that probably at the most 15 people should be in, and we're talking upwards of maybe 100 or more people in these cubicles, and the Border Patrol has said that they are now, listen to this, I'm not making this up, 7,000% above what the holding is capable of, and these two little girls, they've made my tears come to my eyes. One put the arm around the other little girl. They were probably about 6 or 7 years of age, and they walked into this cubicle holding hands, and one with the arm around the other. Where are the parents? And what kind of detestable, low-life, worm-like parents would leave little kids like this to be brought across the border by the evil that is now part of the cartels? I'm so mad right now that this is happening. It doesn't have to happen. It can be stopped by 3 o'clock this afternoon if we had a president and a vice president that had any common sense and decency, and we do not have that. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning again. You've heard of the pylon effect. You know, everybody piles on, and the pile gets higher. Okay, yesterday I had the privilege of talking to my friend Clay Handy, who has Handy Truck Lines, and I just asked him just outright, what are you going to be able to do? And he said, we're going to have to put a surcharge on everything that they ship. They have to survive.
Yep.
Okay, so they get this done, and the groceries go up and everything else. And then here comes Pete Buttigieg, or whatever his name is going to charge a mileage tax, and then it's going to hit us again like a tidal wave. Where is the sensibility in all of this?
There isn't any. And don't even anticipate that you will receive any from this administration. I absolutely think that in 4 years' time, all of us, if the good Lord still allows me to be on this earth, I'm going to keep fighting. I'm going to keep damning and condemning exactly what's going on in this country, especially with this sick, cynical administration that I have no use for. Somebody the other day had the audacity, Keith, to call me and say, well, you should show more respect for the presidency. What? Respect people that absolutely are showing no respect for the American public? Neither one of these people have taken the time and effort to go down and view the crisis at the border, the humanity crisis at the border, and take stride in saying maybe we made a mistake and we better make changes. Neither one of these people are smart enough to do this, so how am I going to show respect for them?
Well, I'll tell you one of the problems we have is somehow they've got a hold of Trump's playbook, and anything he had planned for the future, they're going to stifle. Absolutely stifle.
You don't want to hear somebody, I got to lump somebody else into my absolute hatred this morning, and that's Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. This bartender that somehow got a position as a United States Congresswoman has absolutely the IQ of a box of rocks. She is upset because some of the terminology that's being used is there's a surge at the border, and she doesn't like the word surge because she equates it with insurgency, and she said the children are not trying to do battle or warfare with the United States. I wish she would just go down to the hardware store, buy a roll of duct tape, and use it where it would be best, right over her mouth.
I agree with you. You have a good day.
God bless you, Keith. Thank you. I honestly, how can you respect an administration that is letting everything just fall on the floor and get stepped on? There's no leadership. These little kids, I mean, it's just driving me nuts that they have no supervision. They have no parental guidance. And how? Nobody really goes into the story of how, why, and what happens. Some of them have been thrown into the river to drown. I'm not making this up. Some of them, when they wanted to go back home and were crying for their moms and dads to be made an example of, some of those were killed. It's not me. It's what was said. This is the most heinous action that's ever happened. And these kids, I feel so sorry for these kids. Nobody is going to tell me that they're better off in a cubicle with COVID and the dangers of the cartel and everybody else, sex traffickers, etc. This is insane. Biden, for heaven's sakes, you were elected as president. Act like it. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. I, too, am I also feel that if those pictures that they allowed to leave so that we could see them probably were not the worst.
I agree.
I'm sure that they would let us see the very worst ones. That's the sad part. And I don't know what we're going to do. I just had to call and let you know that I'm sure that that's not the worst pictures there are.
Let me ask you a question, if I may, sir. Do you have children?
Yeah, I got 6.
All right. Could you, as a parent, ever do to your children what has been done to these children? There is no excuse for letting cartel members that don't care if they live or die as long as they get their money take them supposedly thousands of miles and drop them on the other side of the border. And now they're stuck on the border in cubicles with the risk of sexual trafficking and COVID and all types of different and heinous activities that can happen to these dear sweet children. When I saw those 2 little girls last night on TV, honestly, and I don't care who's offended by this, I wanted to go in and just start knocking noses because I was fed up.
Well, I would not let that happen to my children, but I'm sure that there are some people that live down there that want to get children in the United States where they would have a better chance of doing better for themselves. And, we all want our children to do better for themselves, but we also have the responsibility, I feel, to take care of those children. We were given to them by God.
That's right.
And I got to be careful, or I'm going to start tearing up here for a minute. But I feel that this is really, really the wrong thing, both for the people that's letting their children come across and for our country. That's about all I have.
No, and I want to tell you, sir, how much I appreciate your candid remarks. God bless you. Thank you for calling in. Thank you.
Thank you.
I tell you what, I just don't understand this. We can't be the sponge that soaks up all the water. In other words, we can't be the country that takes everyone illegally or legally into this country. It's kind of like the Titanic going down. They didn't keep selling tickets for more people to get on board. I am absolutely sickened by a lack of leadership in this country. I am sickened that Biden hasn't yet been down on the border. I am absolutely sickened when he turned the reins over of the border problem to Miss Giggly Wiggly, Kamala Harris. That absolutely is... You talk about unworthy of a position. And she hasn't been down on the border. Oh, why? Well, she's moving into her new digs in Washington, D.C., and she's been much too busy. Busy? Busy? When little kids' lives are at stake, and we have literally thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people coming across the border illegally, spreading the COVID disease, and we've got many of these people that are criminals, gang members, and everything, but she's too busy. I guess America wanted a change, and America got one. The old saying that elections have consequences, how true. And we are paying the consequences right now. This is disgusting. Deanne, do we have a problem?
Yes.
Oh, we do have a problem. Okay, well, we're going to check it out. Is it with the sound on the air?
No.
Huh?
No.
Oh, okay. She's handing me a note, and... Okay, I'll give you that quickly. She needs this real fast. Problem outside? Okay, well, we'll get right with it. Thank you very much. Sean, I've got a little thing here that has to be taken care of. Can you just quickly jump in and play a tune for me, about 30 seconds? I would appreciate it, please. Real fast. Thank you. I am back, Sean. I took care of it right away. We've got a little problem here in the neighborhood that had to be addressed real fast. Are you there, my friend?
Yes.
Okay, everything's good. Deanne's going to take care of it. Sometimes little things happen that have to be addressed right away, and we had to take care of that on the air. I'm going to take more phone calls. You know, what really bothers me is that I've got the greatest audience in the world. But we need to speak out. We need to start slamming our fists down on the table and saying to Crapo and Risch, and, of course, even Mike Simpson, like talking to a cement block, do something. Make your voices heard. Don't just be part of the herd. Don't forget Barry Equipment and Rental, sales, service, and parts. 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin, in the Nampa location. They have all, with their inventory, all the Bobcats, all the different sizes. They've got the trenchers and the scissor lifts, and they've got all the Doosan wheel loaders and excavators. They've got it all. And they've got super, super great financing rates to buy, excellent low rental rates. You better get a hold of them today. Absolutely, all three locations. 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin with Eli and Nampa. Barry Equipment and Rental. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, it's a crying shame when we elect people to take care of our country, to follow our Constitution, and when they're elected, they swear an oath to the Constitution of the United States, and their job is to improve this country, not make us a laughing stock or a disgrace to the world. And that's what's happened now. I'm sorry to say that with this president and vice president, our Congress in general, our Supreme Court, the Senate and the House are just a disgrace to the world. They spend money for no reason, just to waste it. They've got a lot of power. They're trying to take away our rights as citizens of this country. We've got enough problems in this country. We don't have to go outside our country to find more. We need to take care of what's going on in cities like San Francisco, Seattle, Portland. They're just a disgrace to the world, what they're doing there.
Jerry, let me interrupt you for a second. You talked about spending money. We are now getting word this morning from various sources in the news media, especially Washington, D.C., that the new infrastructure bill is not going to be maybe $3 trillion, but Biden has had other people in his cabinet come to him and say, no, we better shoot for $5 trillion. And there have even been others that said, let's really get a big snowball going downhill. Let's aim for $10 trillion, $10 trillion, and spend as much as we can on social reforms. I don't know about you, Jerry Voss, but I don't want to spend $1 on social reforms.
I agree 100%. I think if we're going to spend money, it ought to be something effective. You're getting the price of gas and fuel so high, people aren't going to be able to travel. You know, it's just going to be ridiculous, so why in the heck improve the roads? Why not just take them out? That way you can stop the cars moving.
You know, Jerry, what you said, wait a minute, Jerry, we can't talk over each other. You pause, give me a break, I'll jump in. What you just said was so astute and so correct. The idiocy and the incompetency that shows from this Biden administration that they want to raise fuel to the point where green energy takes over. Well, fossil fuels need to be here. But if you keep raising the cost, people aren't going to be able to afford to drive. What good is an infrastructure program? You hit it right on the head.
Well, I kind of understand in my mind what they're doing. It's just a way of destroying our country as quick as they can, any way they can.
That's right. Jerry, you are a dear friend, and you better be at Lunch Bunch tomorrow, buddy. We're looking for you.
Well, if I'm not there, it'll be because I'm detained.
Right, well, don't be detained. God bless you, man. Thank you very much. I got to run.
Have a wonderful day. May the Lord bless you and every one of them little children out there listening.
All right, buddy.
To your radio station worldwide.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Jerry. Good friend. Right now, I'm going to give you the weather forecast real fast, and then I want you to get involved and call. I got some other stories I want to hit. Caller, stay with me. Don't go away. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. I'll get you a get-out-of-jail-free card. I've got to get the weather in real quick. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, right behind the Minidoka County Hospital across from the emergency room. And And the number to call for an appointment for the best in technology and practices for your hearing health, 312-0957. I'll repeat it again, 312-0957. They are the best at what they do. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And right now, here's Gina with the forecast.
Lots of sunshine and warming temperatures as we make our way through the week. Here is a look at your weather forecast. Today we are expecting sunny skies, a slight breeze out of the east, and a high of 57. Tonight, nice and clear with a low of 25. Tomorrow, sunshine, high of 69, a slight breeze out of the east. And for tomorrow night, clear skies with a low of 38. By Friday, sunny and 75. And by Saturday, looks like we could see a high of 80. That's look at your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you very much, and brought to you by our friends and your friends at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Don't forget the number to call. Make an appointment. Don't let it go. Please take care of your hearing. 312-0957. Caller, thank you for your patience. Good morning. You're on the air. And they were. Thanked them for their patience, and they hung up. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'm going to give a personal note here about something that I absolutely saw a couple of days ago. And I commented on the radio, and evidently it ruffled some feathers from some people because they didn't like what I said. I absolutely was very disdainful of the University of Michigan basketball team in the NCAA tournament wearing patches on their jersey uniforms that highlighted and stood out for Black Lives Matter. I absolutely talked down about Michigan. I did. I'm not going to apologize. I'm glad that they got beat last night by UCLA, 51-49. I said, and I'll stand behind it, that I don't think the players and or the university really understand the danger and the absolute lurking evil of Black Lives Matter. And it's a Marxist organization, and for a collegiate basketball team to wear the Black Lives Matter logo on their uniforms, I found disgusting, despicable, but Michigan is gone. Good. Good morning. You're on the air.
Morning, Zeb. My phone went dead just like government is today. But what I'm thinking is we keep talking about government doing it for us, and it's up to us as the people to do it. We can't depend on government for anything anymore.
That's right. That's right. I'm agreeing with you.
I get up every morning. I don't have somebody telling me what to do. I know what needs to be done.
But they want a completely 24/7, 365 control over you, me, and everybody. And I'll tell you what, I'm an old man. I am not going to take applicants for the job of watching over me and telling me what to do. As far as I'm concerned, that's going to be another part of their unemployment.
Well, I'm at a loss at what's going on up here. I said earlier in the week it's up to the civilian population to get the rubber to hit the road and do things.
Yep.
There's no dependency on what government is telling us or the news system is telling us. We have to do it on our own.
Amen. You know, Earl, every time you call, you have a lot of common sense. The man up on the mountain, the guru. Thank you very much. I got another call. I'm short on time, but you are always appreciated.
I had the grandparents to teach me this.
There you go. And they did a good job. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Caller, I'll be right there. I want to remind everybody about Wix Cafe. Yes, Wix Cafe. I get excited every time I do this ad for Wix Cafe. Kim, if you're listening, I'm headed over there with my lovely bride this week, and I'll tell you what, it is a great place to go. Wix Steak Place and Burnout Saloon, 18 East Main Street in Declo. You know, if you can't figure out where it is, just look for all the cars. That's where everybody is. All your friends are there. there. What a great place to eat Wednesday through Saturday from 4 p.m. to closing time. And all the menu choices are phenomenal. The prime rib, oh yeah, lobster, chicken, even to the hamburgers, everything is fantastic. I'm telling you, you better get over there. Wick Steak Place and Burnout Saloon, 18 East Main Street in Declo. Caller, good morning. Thank you for waiting.
Yes, yesterday I was going to go see Mr. Simpson, but I just didn't have time. I'm very busy, and I'm grateful. And I wish somebody would have reported what kind of a crowd was there, and if anybody actually held his feet to the fire.
Okay, hold on.
I'd like to know.
Hold on. Randy?
How he would defend any of this, but go ahead.
Okay, wait a minute. I can give you a little bit. I did talk to a couple people that were there. And I'm not going to speak for them. I'm not going to speak their names or anything else. But I understand that the question and answer period was extremely limited to only about 3 questions. And one thing that was very, very noticeable in the dissertation, he being Simpson, according to the source I talked to, never once mentioned the devastating effects on agriculture.
Yeah, I don't get. See, if you read it all and you understand, the Idaho grain producers have shown that the least survival rate on any of the dams was 90%, and that was there's 3 different types of fish. Well, one of them is the same fish, but it's the size, the age. But their survivability of all the dams was 90% plus. And so to say that what Simpson is saying is an outright lie, and why he's doing it, the people of Idaho are, just like Earl said, we need to wake up. Well, we're sovereign human beings, and we keep reelecting Mr. Mike Simpson. I'm telling you, we've just got to do better than what we've been doing.
Absolutely, all across the board. I mean, not just stop with Simpson and Crapo and Risch and Fulcher or anybody else. We need to all across the board demand that we get better service to we, the people of the United States. Those are 3 words that it seems like everybody on the Potomac has forgot.
Yeah, that cesspool back there, I'm telling you, those people, they must think they're normal, and they've lost track of what was normal a long time ago. And then they come out here and they look at us like we're a thorn in their side.
Well, the Normal brothers are in control back there, and if you forgot the Normal brothers' names, I'll supply them to you: abnormal, subnormal, and below normal.
Yeah, it's a mess. It's a damn mess. And like I said, the states are just going to have to take control of the situation. And I could give you the numbers for Christian Cinema and Joe Manchin to call them and talk them, because they're going to try to vote on this thing before or after Easter.
Yep.
This H.R. 1, this thing's still hovering right above us. And it's going to take our head off if we let it.
Randy, real quick, let me just ask you a question. Now, don't go on, because I've got to get a commercial in here. But honestly, I've read the entirety of the Georgia election laws that were signed into effect, and I've listened to some great scholars, and they said everything in that bill is 100% legal and pro-American. And for these idiots that say no ID, I'm telling them, no ID, don't go to the polls. Don't waste my time and don't waste my vote. Don't vote. Stay home.
Exactly. Think about how unfair it is to the people of Idaho who have to show an ID. Excuse me, I got a tickle. And they have to show ID and be, there's no BS in Idaho.
That's right.
This play's not here in Burley. And I tell you what, it's unfair.
Well, you cough. I tell you what, you take care. I got to run anyway, Randy. I appreciate it, buddy. Take care of that cough. Buy some Halls. Don't forget our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations, and they're celebrating right now. Actually, you're celebrating because they're providing a great big spring tire sale. Voila! I'm telling you what, you ought to get in there today for your car, your pickup, SUV, horse trailer, boat trailer, whatever you need tires for. They've got all the tires, all the tread designs, all the sizes for you and all the vehicles. So stop in and see them today. They know tires, believe me. And the best in brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries. Service reigns supreme. Taking care of their customers. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, James and Buell, Dan on Poline in Twin Falls, Lane and Rupert, Mike and Jerome, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, and the Twist family in Paul, along with my buddy Trent on Overland and Burley. Nobody better. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Got to run to the news. Be back next hour, 9:06. Dr. Bruce Hartman. Don't miss it. Oh, well, here we go. Hour number 2, Zeb at the Ranch on this last day of March, March 31st. Tomorrow, April Fool's Day, national holiday. Hey, we're brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations with a great big spring tire sale. You stop in and see them today. Don't forget, too, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, this good word for Western Waste.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're all at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Oh, Western Waste Services. Don't forget, it's almost the porta potty season. Yeah, you know, for all the outdoor events, the picnics, the reunions, the concerts and everything. They've got all the porta potties. Yes, sirree, Bob. They are always at your disposal. Call the number 734-6969. Western Waste Services, serving you. Want to also give a great big shout out, and I mean this. You can look high and low, far and wide. You will not find anybody more committed to your getting healthier and staying healthy and getting you back on track after a surgery or perhaps an accident. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Number to call and talk to any one of these great people that are physical therapists there, and they've got a whole bunch of them. 678-1191. 678-1191. Please get a hold of them today. They absolutely can help you get back to being you. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. One final note before we go with our guest. I also want to acknowledge some people that have been with us a long, long time, and you can trust them. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, and that's, of course, with Joel Heward, his family, and his staff. The number to call, 436-5636, and they always provide the families they serve with the best possible support and comfort with the highest ethical standards and unquestioned integrity. Please remember the name, remember the number. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, 436-5636. And Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Right now, we're going to go to the phone line, and this man was scheduled to come on my program, I think about 10 days or so ago, and we had confliction in the schedules. I am so glad that he's back on the program this morning. He is a culture, religion, and politics commentator and the author of Spend a Year with Jesus, an inspirational journey of finding Jesus and faith. Good morning, Dr. Bruce Hartman. How are you?
Good morning to my favorite Christian cowboy.
Well, thank you. I'm honored by that statement. I really am. I appreciate that. Dr. Hartman, let me just kind of ballpark this question to you. Have you ever in your life, and I'm an old man, I'm 73 years old, I have never seen such a fall down the ladder into the basement attitude that this country has taken on in just the last couple of months. It seems like anything goes, and Satan is reigning supreme. Would you agree or disagree?
Oh, those signals are definitely there. We see it in almost every facet of life. And the pendulum is definitely not swinging the way we would like it right now.
How do we change it?
Well, I think a number of things. I'll give you an interesting statistic that I just found out. I just discovered myself, Zeb. They banned Mr. Potato Head, and they put Speedy Gonzales on the shelf. So I looked to see how many Americans, have they taken a poll, how many Americans think that this is a worthwhile effort? It stunned me. 70% of Americans disagree with that. And then, as I've looked further, most people disagree with what's going on. So what could be happening here? Well, we have mainstream media creating these narratives that are supporting the progressives in Washington. And most Americans don't agree with that. So one of my first pieces of advice is always pray. Always pray for our country, pray for yourselves, pray for your neighbors, always pray. But secondly, when we vote in 2 years, remember these days. Don't fall for the traps. And remember what's going on today. The third thing is, this is good news, that CNN has record low ratings right now. All of the mainstream media, ABC, CBS, NBC, their ratings are falling off. And the reason is, true Americans are tuning them out. And I believe it's not only the majority of Americans, it's the vast amount of Americans. So I think I see that as a good sign.
Dr. Hartman, every time you're on, we have a good conversation about various things in our society. But this cancel culture, I do not have the personality to put up with their garbage. They are toppling over statues. They are destroying things. They are throwing paint and absolutely denigrating everything in our historical past. Now they're after children's cartoons. They're after various movies like Gone with the Wind. How much longer are we going to put up with this cancel culture? And why, I'm going to go back to what you were just talking about, why aren't we standing up and saying no and picking up the Hillary Bradsby baseball bats and saying, come on, baby, bring it on?
And so, that is a good question, and it is happening. Now, the cancel culture is starting to cancel the people that are part of the cancel culture. And this is the one thing about evil. It eventually eats itself. And I'm seeing it today. When I'm finding out that legitimate polling companies like Pew Research and Gallup are starting to do polls to find out if Americans really like it, and they've been told they don't, that's the beginning of the end. And to me, this reminds me very much of the French Revolution and some of the insanity that occurred in that society. Very, very similar parallels to us. The last people to get killed in the French Revolution were the revolutionaries. And that's one thing to always remember. These people aren't about doing good. They're about power, and they're about their own personal relevancy, and eventually they cancel themselves. And I think that is going to happen. Now, unfortunately, Zeb, I don't believe it's going to happen in the next 90 days. But with the decrease in ratings, the cancel culture now getting more bizarre, with like Mr. Potato Head, for me, is the craziest one. I think America is now at the point where it's going to say, I've had enough.
I hope and I pray, emphasis on the word pray, that you are correct. But I'm going to ask you a very naive question here. Who are these people? Who are they? Are they sons and daughters of whom, and where did they come from? Who's their leader? Where's their offices? I mean, who are these people?
Well, Zeb, you can find this. I think it's coming out of two places. Let's first talk about academia. I was on the phone this morning with a very good friend of mine. Our education, higher education, they don't teach vocationally, and they're not even teaching educationally right now. What they're teaching is victimhood, and that's where terms like white privilege, white supremacist, oppression, They're giving people excuses for not getting ahead in life. And out of that, what has spawned is cancel culture. That's number one. Number two, we all need to realize when we're watching NBC at night, there is a narrative that the news is going to follow. And right now, we had a man that 2 days ago was tasered by two women, a Muslim man, tasered by two women. His car was overturned and he died, literally crushed to death by them flipping the car over on him. What's interesting is that didn't hit the news. And for many of your listeners, this is probably the first time they heard that news. If that had been a person of a different race and a different religion, that would have been on the news. And that's what we're having with the George Floyd. I don't agree with what the police officer did, but I don't agree the entire country should have been shut down for what happened, and all these buildings and all these lives that get destroyed. And so I think this is a narrative that's been being given to us from Washington and mainstream media. And the second thing, we're getting it from academia. The kids are not learning education, and they're not learning vocation.
Okay, Dr. Hartman, I'm going to throw this in. This was not going to be one of my talking points with you this morning because I discussed it earlier, but I'm going to throw it at you and see how you're going to catch it. I was absolutely appalled, and to my knowledge, Michigan University was the only team in the NCAA tournament that wore a Black Lives Matter patch on their uniforms during the games. When I noticed that, I absolutely was cheering for any other team to beat them, and it finally happened last night. UCLA beat Michigan. I don't like at all the conception that's going on in our universities and colleges across the country. Black Lives Matter is a Marxist hate group that wants to see the downfall of the American family and the destruction of our Constitution. And here is a major university basketball team advertising for them on national TV.
So you're right about Black Lives Matter, and I'm going to add one more thing that many people don't know about Black Lives Matter. That's not tax deductible. Any money you make to them is not tax deductible. But if you make donations to, for instance, there's this enrichment program for inner city youth called Street Squash. You make a donation to them, the IRS will allow you to deduct it. Why? Because they help the people they claim they're helping. Black Lives Matter, 70 to 80% of what they receive in funding goes to consultants and to the people that organized it. It's also being run by a former convicted felon, convicted of terrorist act trying to blow up the White House 57 years ago. You can look this up on Wikipedia. Her name is Susan Rosenberg. Now, since then, they wiped her off since this has been discovered, they wiped her off their website. But she's the driving force behind the defund the police. But you are 100% right. This is a selfish organization that even our IRS won't allow American taxpayers who make contributions to them be allowed to take a deduction. And that you're exactly right about what you're saying. This is another form of evil. Now, Zed, there's some good news here, though. If you notice, the NBA's completely backed off on it this season. You're going to see the same with the NFL this year. Why? Because American people tuned them out. American people know what I just said to you and what you know. And again, this is all helping us. And Americans need to stop watching organizations that fund craziness like this, as well as universities like Michigan. And the more we do, the more these people get the message.
You know, one of the things I saw the other night on television, Dr. Hartman, was an advertisement for, quote-unquote, Satan shoes for Easter from a rapper. I want you to elaborate on this a little bit. My wife and I sat there with our jaws agape because I could not believe this.
So they stole, so they stole the swoosh. The swoosh you see on the shoe, that's not from Nike. Nike's furious. Nike's taken them to jail, not to jail, they've taken them to court, and they've asked the judge to get all the money back that they made from this, as well as a cease and desist. So that's in court right now, number one. Number two, this is a way for people to find themselves on the map. why they sold out is because we have parents in America that are afraid to say no to their kids. Now, most parents, I believe, do know how to say no, but we got a few people out there that are letting these kids buy these shoes, knowing full well what it represents, because they're afraid to say no. So you've got this company that was very unknown, does this dramatic, crazy thing, and now they're on the map. And the second thing is this rapper that's associated with these shoes, who was unknown in America, is now famous.
The thing I want you to comment on, and I think you of all people are highly qualified to do so, we've seen our culture go down, down, down to the depths of being in the basement of low-quality lifestyle and the way we project ourselves. Can we bring this thing back?
Yeah, I think how these things normally occur is, initially societies obey God, and then over time, kind of what you've described occurs, and then it reaches this really bottom, which is, I think, we have to be close to, Zeb. God help us if we're not. And then from that point, God-fearing people start praying, start asking for God's help, and then God helps us. And you see this throughout, particularly the Old Testament. This is the way life ebbs. And I have to think we're at the bottom here, considering how crazy some of the stuff is that's occurring right now. So this pendulum always swings back. We've got to stay faithful. We've got to stop viewing and giving attention to the misfits of our world. And we have to also make sure we're not supporting organizations that aren't providing healthy content to the American people.
Absolutely.
And we can all do that together.
Your book, Spend a Year with Jesus, an inspirational journey of finding Jesus in faith. How's it doing? Please talk about that a little bit.
It's interesting, Zeb. I'm still amazed, and we're into Holy Week this week. And I expected sales to be good this week, but what I've been surprised at is they've been strong since the beginning of the year. And normally when you do a full-year devotional, most of the sales occur late December, early January. But this book still sells as well as it did December 31st. So, one, I'm happy because we're changing people's lives, and that is our ministry and our mission, change people's lives. We don't make a lot of money on these books, but what our goal is to get this message of Jesus out. So I'm happy that people are out there spending their weeks with Jesus, and that can only be a good thing.
I wish the message of your book, and I'd like you to kind of give us a theme as to how the book was constructed from chapter 1 all the way to the closing of the cover on the back page. But what do you want people to take away from your book?
It's have a closer relationship with Jesus. My next book's coming out, I think, in a month, by the way, Zeb. And it's also designed similar to this book. But I want people, as my dear friend Pastor Lou says, if we can make one person step closer to Jesus in their life, then we've accomplished what we set out to accomplish. So in Spend a Year with Jesus, if you do the book for 52 weeks, I guarantee for anybody, you will know Jesus more intimately, and you will start thinking in your thoughts, what would Jesus want me to do here? And that's the purpose of this book, is to have people read the devotion, and we ask them each week 3 questions to answer. They're all designed to find out in their minds how they're handling their relationship with Jesus.
Excellent. And tell us where the book can be obtained.
Well, your listeners can go to Amazon.com today and download it off of the Kindle site. Or you can get it off of our website, www.brucelhartman.com.
Dr. Hartman, one final thought, and I don't mean to put you on the spot with this issue without telling you first that I was going to do this. But this issue on the border is one of the most tear-jerking issues that I've ever seen. Last night, and I'm not ashamed to say it again, I mentioned it first hour, when I watched the absolute heinous activity of these kids from 6, 7 years old up to teenagers coming across the border illegally, and we have to do our job as a nation to protect ourselves, and we need orderly crossing the border, and these people are just trying to come in and take over, but these little kids in cubicles to where they're over 7,000% above holding, this is the saddest thing in the world, and it seems like our current administration doesn't care.
I think this is a devious plot, and I've been very concerned about this. And I think many people have missed this point. These kids are nothing to the people that are pushing this and promoting this. And that's really the tragedy. And it's the tragedy that you've identified. They've put us into a no-win position. These are the drug dealers. These are the people that are bringing fentanyl into our country. They're using kids to do this. They're using kids to open up our borders. They're using kids to get us to relax so they can make more money and put young people in West Virginia, get them hooked on this drug, fentanyl or cocaine or whatever it is they're pushing. And that's really the tragedy. And for our Democratic Party to not see this and not understand this, it's criminal. And I think the reason why they don't is they believe they're going to end up getting more votes out of having these illegal immigrants in our country. I think that's going to backfire on them.
What a shame. It's a sorrowful shame. Dr. Bruce Hartman, you are welcome here anytime. And he is, of course, the author of the book, Spend a Year with Jesus, an inspirational journey of finding Jesus in faith. Sir, I want to tell you thank you so much, and please come back in the future.
Anytime, Jeb. You have a pleasant and blessed day.
Thank you very much, sir. I enjoy that man. He tells it like it is. Dr. Bruce Hartman, thank you very much. One of the top culture, religion, and political commentators, and very blessed to have him on the program. I got to pay some bills. Oh, I want to take just a moment and tell you what's going to happen tomorrow. And we need to fill the place up at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley tomorrow, the return of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. I can't tell you how excited Deanne and I are to go back to Lunch Bunch. It's been, a year? Holy smokes, we've missed seeing our friends. And we're going to have all kinds of great prizes. We're going to give a prize to the person that has the Mad Hatter prize, the wildest, weirdest hat. Wear it, and you might get a prize. And we're going to have some nice prizes to give out. And the person that brings the most people, you're going to get a free lunch, and we're going to have other door prizes. It's April Fool's, but we're not fooling. It's going to be at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner tomorrow, Zeb's Lunch Bunch. Be there. I mean, I believe that normally on a good day, we'll have 65 to 70 people. Let's cram them in, boy, because I want to have a great return of Zeb's Lunch Bunch to Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner, 611 North Overland in Burley. Thank you very much. While we have just a moment, I also want to pay tribute to some people that really are service-oriented, and that's, of course, our friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Holy smokes, every time you call Todd, I mean, he just drops everything, and bingo, bango, he's got the information and the assistance that you need. Whether it's life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, they are very dedicated and responsive to your needs. So please, all you need to do is just make a phone call. Make a phone call. Call them and make an appointment at 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Really super nice people. One other good word before we go to our next guest, and I want to mention about Patterson's Electronics. You know, it goes without saying, and I never have bragged about something I can't do, and what I can't do is know all about electronics. I never did like that kind of stuff, you know, I mean, as far as knowing this and then that wire over here and everything, but I know that I appreciate home theater systems. I appreciate car stereos and speakers. I appreciate really good sound systems. I appreciate really good television sets, video surveillance cameras. And so when you appreciate something, you got to go with people that know far, far more about the product. And that's Patterson's Electronics, 421 East Main in Burley. Boy, they have the knowledge, and they've got quite an inventory. They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6, and all you need to do is just get on in there and visit with Curtis and Lorena. They can, and they will help you. Patterson's Electronics, 421 East Main in Burley. Number to call, 678-6997. Let's go to the phone line again and get ready for our next guest. And we are very, very fortunate to have one of the co-authors of the book called The Miracle Collectors, Uncovering Stories of Wonder, Joy, and Mystery. Good morning, Joan Louise Hill. How are you?
I'm fine, Zeb. Thanks for having me on the show.
Well, it's my pleasure, and I'm really intrigued about what we're going to be talking about. Your book with Katie Mahan, I believe her name is, The Miracle Collectors. Give us kind of a rough thumbnail sketch of what the book is all about.
Happily. So The Miracle Collectors is really a book about possibilities. You know, we kind of invite readers and people to come on a journey with us to look at life with new perspectives. In the company of these over 50 extraordinary stories we tell, you know, from ordinary people. So it started 10 years ago when we started sharing our own remarkable stories in the first book we wrote together called The Miracle Chase. And as we started talks when we went around the country and we shared our own stories, people started telling us their stories. And it was a truly unexpected thing to us, and it was this great gift. And what we found were so many people had a story, a miracle story that they wanted to share, but they didn't know what to do with it. They didn't have the words to use. They were afraid people, you know, might laugh at them, or they were afraid to be vulnerable. So we kind of gave people permission to tell us their stories. And what we really learned was, through this process, of becoming the story keepers for other people's stories, that miracles are really available to all of us if we but pay attention, if we look around us, looking at the common in an uncommon way. But what they do, which is really wonderful, is they foster connection between us. And, you know, we begin to realize the similarities between us instead of just the differences. We perhaps realize that, you know, we're not all there is in the world, that there's something greater than we are. And we feel connected to others and to ourselves and to, you know, the universe as a whole in a new way. So that's sort of the essence of the book. And at the end of each chapter, we offer people a Take a Miracle Moment challenge, where, you know, kind of simple, practical steps to think about how to find these miracles in your life. Because people would come up to say, well, that's very nice, but how am I going to do it? That's, you know, easy to say but hard to do. How am I going to find the miracles in my life? And so, you know, we wanted to offer people a path to be able to do that.
Well, okay, right there, though, let's play detective and sleuth, and let's tell people how they can understand perhaps what is a miracle.
Well, so miracles, you know, it's funny, two things. Miracles are this universal language, right? You say miracle on the Hudson, you say miracle on ice. People go, yeah, you know, miracle, I found a parking space. We have miracle beauty products. You know, it's really used in common vernacular for a whole host of things. And the word itself has been, you know, under investigation for centuries. You know, it comes from a Latin word for wonder, mirari, and, you know, and scientists have investigated miracles. Certainly theologians have. But we sort of, after, you know, 20 years of discovery, we sort of have our own definition, which really puts miracles on a continuum from sort of thunderbolt miracles to coincidences, to waves of grace where a series of things happen and you realize maybe you're in the right place at the right time to do something for someone else, or perhaps vice versa. There's someone who's in the right time at the right place with the right information for you. so we can be a miracle for each other. So there are these great continuums, from, the parting of the Red Sea, if you will, or the resurrection of Christ, to everyday miracles that really happen around us, whether it's in nature or it's in something that, we see or hear about and have cause to celebrate.
I personally, when I saw the information sheet about possibly having you come on the program, there's a couple of times in my life and a couple of happenstances that I know that through my Christian faith, they were miracles. And I absolutely kind of sends a shiver up my backbone, especially on the one instance, as to how it happened in my life. And I'm sure that everybody, if they'll sit down and just kind of analyze things over their past, their childhood, college years, etc., I'm sure they could come up with one or two that'll make their eyes wide open and maybe believe in miracles.
I think that's true, and I think the other thing that we've seen, I'll tell you one of the stories, for example, there was a woman that we spoke to who was in England, and she was scheduled to take a flight to New York, and she suddenly decided, she really wanted a cup of coffee, and she really wanted to get a new book before she left. So she went to the desk, and she said, this is some years ago, she went to the desk, and she said, hey, is there another plane that I could just get on just going to New York? And they said, sure, there's another one in half an hour. You can change easily, not a problem. So she's sharing the story with her book group. The plane she did not get on was Pan Am Flight 103, which blew up over Loch Leat, Scotland. Her book group gasped at this news, and she said, do you think there was something to that it was, fated that I didn't get on that plane? And they all said yes. Sometimes we need others. We share our stories with people, and sometimes the stories we share kind of change over time, but as we think back, as you said, and think about events in our lives, we all have these moments, and sometimes we don't realize them right at the time because we're busy, we're paying attention to other things, but, you look back and you go, wow, I was saved in that way, or someone rescued me, or something happened, and it gives your life, makes you ask the question of sort of, and that's the third section of this book, which is really about finding meaning. And sometimes it's about finding meaning by helping others. And sometimes it's about finding meaning by, stopping your car to help someone else. And all of these stories have an essence of this sort of what we call miracle courage in them, the ability to sort of face what's out there and do your part.
And I'll come right out, and I'm not at all ashamed or embarrassed to say this. I believe that there are, and I know the left-wing loons out in the audience will take exception to this, but I absolutely believe there are angels out there working among us.
I think that that's a very common feeling. 80% of Americans think that, miracles still happen. And, many people believe in miracles. Many people believe in angels. We have some angel stories in this book. And I think it crosses, when people hear these stories, and they hear them from people that are, that they respect, they admire, they talk to in a group, they gain credibility. And I think that, listening to these stories, without judgment, and is a very important part of, who we are. Because I do think we try to look for the good in people, and we try to look for these experiences. And I can tell you, Katie's rescue, my co-author, Katie Mann's rescue from the serial killer Ted Bundy was that person who rescued her, the bellman, in the guise of a bellman. Was he an angel? He certainly showed up at the right time. He certainly disappeared, and she certainly is still alive, unlike Ted Bundy. And, these things happen in your life, and you go, wow.
Yeah.
And, we felt that it was really important for us to share our stories and what we had learned. And as I said, it was this great gift that others shared theirs. I mean, I'd love to hear your story,
Well, I can tell it real quick, and I've said it before on the radio. I used to travel extensively with my other career as an announcer at various events all over the United States. I was in the rodeo business and traveled to over 150 performances a year. And I was in Portland early one morning trying to catch a flight, and I took the rental car back to its space at about 4:45 in the morning, and there was no one there to take the keys and the information. There was no one there to assist me with my bags to get to the terminal. And I sat down on the bags and I thought, Lord, what am I going to do? I can't miss this flight. I had to go from Portland back to Minneapolis, Minnesota. It was the only flight I could get on and make my next commitment. And all of a sudden, in the dark and dingy of that basement where the car rental return was, here comes a guy down the line, and it was a chilly morning. He had a short-sleeved white shirt on, and he says, hey, partner, how are you? And I said, fine. And he says, you need a hand? And I said, as a matter of fact, I do. I've got to catch a flight on Alaska Airlines, and I don't have any way to get all these bags over there. And he says, well, I'll help you. Long story short, we walked the very long walk over to the airline ticket counter to check in, and he was right behind me, set the bags down, and I took my ticket out of one of the bags, turned around, and he was gone. And there was hardly anybody else in that line, and the man was absolutely out of sight. I didn't see him. And I personally, and I'll say it over the air and not embarrassed to say so, I think it was a good angel helping me make that flight.
Mm-hmm. That sounds very, very, very true. And it's not an uncommon story where you're in a place where you know you have good visual to be able to see someone, and they're gone. And you know you saw them, and they helped you. The bags were next to you. You know, that we've had a few of those stories people told us. And it's really fascinating. You know, we are more than we can see. We all have this, you know, sort of spiritual essence inside us. And, you know, the great theologian, philosopher Teilhard de Chardin said, you know, we are, instead of human beings having a spiritual experience, we're really spiritual beings perhaps having a human experience. Mm-hmm. And so we know that there are things that we don't understand, things we can't see, and feeling a part of that, whether you call it nature or God, is really, I think, an important part of who we are. And if we ignore it, we're like this puzzle that has a missing piece. It never looks quite as right and quite as beautiful as it could be.
Joan, do you feel?
And I think we've found that time and time again as we've spoken to people, and I think that that's where our view of these miracles and, you know, the potential for angels, the potential for people who come into our lives at the right time that we need to listen to, is this very, you know, I think a vision that miracles are really in the eye of the beholder. And by, you know, asking for them or, you know, recognize them, taking the time to look at our environment in a different, you know, in a new and different way, and putting out there, gosh, I need help getting these bags to the ticket counter. It is amazing how often you will have someone literally by your side.
Absolutely. Did you find with your research with Katie that some people, perhaps many people, were afraid or a little bit tentative on sharing their stories about a miracle?
Absolutely. I think that miracles have been on the don't ask, don't tell list. I think that people are afraid, you know, whether it's an age of scientism or whether it's an age of, you know, some of these things are a little bit wacky. And you just go, you don't want anyone to think that you're not, you know, you're a little bit wacky. And so that was the great gift, was that by opening up and sharing our stories, that people felt it was safe. People felt that they, you know, could ask questions about these things that they didn't understand. And not looking for understanding, but looking for that commonality of experience of, it's okay that I don't understand this, but this happened, and you know what? I'm not alone. My life is valuable. And I think that when people did open up and share those stories, and as I said, we have, you know, over 50 of them in the book, there was this great relief, not only for, perhaps it might have been in the form of a rescue, not only for the fact that they were rescued, but the fact that they were able to do what they had to do to help themselves be rescued.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it gives people a chance and an opportunity to look at their life as well in a new way. And that has been, just a terrific, I think it's kind of what keeps us going on this miracle journey that we embarked on 20 years ago.
Absolutely. Well, tell me, the Miracle Collectors, where can people find the book?
Well, the book is available on all the usual online outlets, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, indie bookstores, Books A Million. Your neighborhood independent bookshop, I hope, can get it, I know for sure, or hopefully is carrying it. We have a website, themiraclecollectors.com, and you can order the book on that. We also have a monthly blog and a sign-up where we're looking for people to share their miracle stories with us. And I'll be honest, through the radio, talks that we've been doing, interviews, so many people have come forward and shared, as you did, a story in their life. And, that is the goal, to really try to empower people to find these miracles in their life. And I think it's so important right now with all that's gone on in this last year of the pandemic, and a lot of the financial calamities, this global health crisis we've been under, our political polarization. We need inspiration. We need hope. We need, positive possibilities, and that's really what the Miracle Collectors offers.
I love it. And I'm telling you something, Joan, I just think that you've hit a home run here this morning. I think people that think that they are the be-all and end-all of all circumstances, they get rude awakenings when all of a sudden they find out that they're pretty small in the scheme of things, and miracles happen that really open their eyes.
I think that's true, and I think the other thing that I'd just like to mention is that what we've also really found is, miracles are sort of contagious. You see a miracle for someone. There was a wonderful story, you mentioned Minnesota, in the Minneapolis area right before Christmas, where a gentleman paid at a Dairy Queen, literally paid for the meal for the car behind him. That went on for 900 cars.
Oh, my.
In 3 days at that Dairy Queen. That's people doing for someone else. It's people feeling that they're connected with other people. And that is, and feeling that they're connected with something bigger than themselves. And that's really, at the end of the day, I think what miracles are all about.
Wow. Joan, you are a real treat to have on the air. Joan Louise Hill, co-author of the book, along with Katie Mahan, The Miracle Collectors, Uncovering Stories of Wonder, Joy, and Mystery. God bless you, and I mean that, and I hope everything is very successful with this book.
Well, thank you so much, and thanks for having me on the show, and thank you especially for sharing your miracle story. Really appreciate it.
All right. You have a wonderful day, and God bless. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
What a sweet lady, and interesting book, The Miracle Collectors. I like that title. Uncovering Stories of Wonder, Joy, and Mystery. Right now, I better uncover the joy and mystery of the weather, and the weather brought to you by Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company, and they are the professionals providing accounting services to the Mini-Cassia area and beyond for well over 50 years. I mean, these people care, these people do the job, these people go way over and above helping you with tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, bookkeeping services, retirement planning, all of this and so much more. They've got 2 offices, Burley and Rupert. You be sure and get a hold of them today to help you, your family, and your business. Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. And right now, here's Gina with the forecast.
Lots of sunshine and warming temperatures as we make our way through the week. Here is a look at your weather forecast. Today we are expecting sunny skies, a slight breeze out of the east, and a high of 57 tonight. Nice and clear with a low of 25. Tomorrow, sunshine, high of 69, a slight breeze out of the east. And for tomorrow night, clear skies with a low of 38. By Friday, sunny and 75. And by Saturday, looks like we could see a high of 80. That's Look at Your Weather for Zeb Duran.
Wow. I'm looking forward to those 80-degree marks on the old thermometer. And weather forecast brought to you by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Yeah, they're busy right now. You better believe it. It's that time of the year. But they are the best at what they do. Tax return preparation, right now, that's the big deal. And they can help you with anything. Like I said, retirement planning, etc. And the best of accounting services. These people really care. I know them. They work for us. Absolutely. Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, with offices at 1710 Overland Avenue in Burley and 625th Street in Rupert. Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. I've got a few extra minutes right now that I would absolutely be tickled pink if you'd give me a call, and we'll talk about anything you want to talk about this morning. And give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I got to tell you that when yesterday on the program, we started talking about the new Georgia election laws that were passed and signed by the Governor Kemp in Georgia. Every single thing, every single item is absolutely constitutional. They're going to adhere to voter ID. They're going to adhere to shorter voting time. They're going to adhere to absentee ballots. They're not going to let the drop boxes just lay there for 30 days. They're not going to absolutely benefit and go for mail-in balloting. They're cleaning up the act, and it needs it. And for the crybabies that are trying to stop this, they've gone to various corporations like Coca-Cola. They've gone to some of the airline companies like Delta Airlines. And the cancel culture is trying to say, oh, no, that's voter suppression. No, it is not. It's legal voting to keep it honest. I am fed up with the crybaby attitude. You don't want to show an ID to go vote? Don't go vote. You're not an American. You're not worthy of voting. Go get an ID. Plain and simple. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, sir. I agree 100%. When you follow the rule of law, the Democrats don't like it. Because when they try to win an election, you tell me what policies they have that is good for America that people will vote for.
Doug, what is the sense of anybody giving an argument, whether they want to call in now or they want to do it tomorrow morning, and saying, oh, well, you're trying to suppress the vote? Listen, if you get 30 people driving up in a van and they all have their baseball caps on sideways so they don't know which direction they're going, and they don't go in with an ID and they just vote, what's going to keep those same people from getting back in the van and going to the next precinct?
Well, if they don't want voter ID, then we need to stick a finger in the ink like other countries do. So they only vote once.
Amen.
But you got to vote in person.
I just don't understand this lunacy of saying that it's voter suppression by tightening up the ethics and the way that we vote. I listened to Britt Hume last night on television, and he absolutely concurred. He's a couple of years older than we are, and he said everything they did in Georgia is right up to the top of the bottle and A-OK.
Well, they're following their own Constitution because their own Constitution had that to begin with, didn't it?
Yes.
Until the AG and the governor decided to drop it.
It sounds like you've got a cell phone call.
I do. I'll call him back.
I appreciate the entertainment, Doug. That was nice.
You like that song,
I did. No, but I am sick and tired of the left saying voter suppression. Please explain to me how anyone is being suppressed and or stopped from going to vote.
They're not. I mean, it's been going on for years back there in the East, in Boston and a lot of places where they gather these winos up and that, put them on a bus and guarantee them a bottle of wine. If they go vote a certain way, they take them down and let them vote. I mean, it's been going on. It needs to be cleaned up. If you cannot trust an election, then why even have one?
Why even think about, I know there are cases. I know there are people with health issues, etc., to where they need to have a mail-in ballot or absentee ballot, whatever the case might be. But to tell me that we have to extend voting to a full month or beyond, that is absolute insanity, and it only breeds the opportunity of having illegality.
True, and I think the only early voting there should be would be every serviceman and woman that is serving overseas.
I agree.
Because most of the time their votes don't even count, and they're the people laying their life on the line for this country.
Absolutely. I'm so sick and tired of the crybaby left, and then they stand up and say, oh, it's voter suppression. There is nothing suppressive about showing an ID. I am very proud to do so when I go in and sign my name to vote in any election. And for those that don't want to show it, they don't have enough pride in America, they're not really Americans, stay home, eat a bonbon, and don't eliminate our votes.
Exactly, and it should be, every vote should be a paper ballot, which should be required to be maintained for at least a year so it can audit against any electronic scanning of that ballot.
And to the corporations that are supporting all the crybaby loons of the Democratic Party, shame on you. I hope you all go broke.
Well, they're not in America. They're corporate offices or other places where they don't have to pay taxes in this America.
I tell you what, we got a lot of cleaning up to do, but I don't think we've got enough brooms and dustpans.
No, we don't, buddy. But we have enough proud Americans to stand up, get a hold of your legislators, and tell them, you work for us, and this is how you want it to be.
Bingo. That's the key. They work for us, and I think some of them have overlooked that fact.
Quite a few of them.
Yeah. Hey, God bless you, man. Thanks.
One more quick thing, and I'll let you go because I know you're short on time, but I'd like to get everybody to get a hold of our representatives and tell them I want that list of people who have used taxpayer money to pay for sexual problems in the Congress and the Senate. I want that list, and I want it now.
There you go.
It needs to be public. It is our money. We need to know who spent it and where it was spent.
There you go. Thank you, Doug. Always appreciate your comments. Thank you very much. Going to run to the news from Fox, and we'll be right back in just a few minutes. Don't forget, coming up next hour, Why Not God with my dear friend, Pastor Alex Lissau. Oh, and a good morning to you and yours. Hour number 3 on this last day of March is going to march on out of here. 31st on the calendar. Zeb at the Ranch, and glad to have you with us with all the activity and the calls and everything. Thank you, listeners. You're the best. Our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations with a great big spring tire sale going on. You stop in and see them today. Along with our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Real quick note, I also want to give a great big pat on the back to Jeff and the crew down at Lee's Furniture, Floors and More at 459 Overland in Burley. I'm telling you folks, walk in the door, stop right after you get in the door and look around. Left to right, right to left, down the middle, everywhere. All that you need for the beautification and the comfortization of your home. All the mattresses in their sleep center, and of course all the window coverings and the floor coverings, all the carpet, the tile, the vinyl flooring, everything, along with all the furniture. Oh, look at the recliners. Try one on, find one that fits, and you're in heaven. Don't forget to stop in and see them today. They're open Monday through Friday 9 to 5, Saturdays 10 to 4. Lee's Furniture, Floors and More at 459 Overland in Burley. One of my favorite segments right now on the air every Wednesday with my dear friend Pastor Alex Lissau with the Zion Lutheran Church in Burley. Why Not God. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb, and good morning to all your listeners this morning.
So good to have you here, and thank you for bringing your lovely bride.
Yes, she wants to be here to visit with Deanne, and that's great.
Absolutely. Holy Week.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely Holy Week. For those that are unaware or didn't have a chance to look at the calendar, this, of course, with Maundy Thursday, Good Friday, and then, of course, Resurrection Sunday, Easter Sunday.
Exactly. And that's a very busy time for us in the church, but it's a wonderful time for us as well because it brings back to memory and the memorialization of all those things which God has done for us through His Son, Jesus Christ. Thursday night is our service at our church, and I'm sure that there'll be some others in the community that we celebrate what we call Holy Thursday or Maundy Thursday. The word Maundy comes from the Latin word mandatum, or which means mandate, and it's a commandment from God, which Jesus Christ comes to us and tells us to love one another as I have loved you, so shall you love one another. And that's really an interesting statement for us in our current times, because we live in a time that the frustrations and the pain and the agony and the things that are going on in our society are just, for those of us who want to see the joy and the happiness and the freedoms that we have as a people, and that people are productive and useful and things are happening to the benefit of all people. And when we see these things being backed off and we see some of the rules that are being established and prices going out, nobody's giving me a raise to compete with the increase in my gasoline cost. Nobody's giving me a raise to take care of my issues that I need to groceries-wise or anything else. But yet there's all these things are going to happen, and we're going to, the government's telling us that, our current president is telling us that he's going to just get that money out of the big businesses. He's going to take that out of their hands. And, you would think that the common sense and the brain would say to you, but those things are going to be passed down to the individual consumer, to us. The guy that's not getting any raises, the guy that's not having a business growing and developing because of the COVID and other things that we've done in the last year and a half, 2 years, that's the guy that's still going to have to come up with more out of his pocket to live. And those things are not good things for our people. Our job is to take care of one another, provide for one another, do for one another. I mean, that's the calling of God, and this Holy Week is what brings us to that knowledge. It's not just about what Christ did for us, it's about what Christ does for us. And that's the important part. If we're truly Christians, it's the old story about, just because you're standing in the garage doesn't make you a car, and just because you're in church doesn't make you a Christian. A Christian is a person that lives according to the will and purpose of God. Those things that He's called us to do. And that's to love and care for one another. And when the government gets involved in those things, takes the personal relationship out of it, when he takes that out of it, then there's really no love. It's kind of like filling an empty glass, What do you put in it? And what value is that which is in it?
Yeah.
And so to me, it's so important for us to recognize that our society has gone so far away from its responsibility to look to God, to look to His Word, to love one another, to care for one another, to follow the commandments and the teachings of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. That is what makes America great.
Well, let me ask you a question. Square that mic up just a little.
Okay, sorry.
There you go. From the beginning of this country with our forefathers, based on Judeo-Christian principles and the formation of this great United States, and then going through the Revolutionary War and through the Civil War, the absolutely heinous treatment of people that live in the same country, the Civil War of the United States, and then going to all the other wars that have happened. Where did we fall off the table and get away from the Christian principles?
I don't know how to really answer that question in the detail that maybe that should be answered. What I believe is what we have done is we've begun to rely upon man's rules and man's directions, and we've allowed people to step into positions of responsibility without measuring the character and the value of the individual who we put in those positions. And if you look back across the spectrum of time and you look at the different people that have held the positions as president and vice president and congressmen and senators, at one time it was a great and glorious responsibility. It was a great service to our country. They went there as representatives of the people, a representative republic. They went there to serve the people, to provide for the people, for all people. Didn't make any difference. It was not supposed to make any difference with regard to race or religion or any of those things. It was supposed to be this wondrous gift of God called America, for the freedom of all people, that we might have the right to pursue that happiness. It's the pursuit of happiness. It's not a guarantee of happiness. And we have this and yet now we've developed where all of a sudden they are no longer our servants. They're our kings and our lords, and they're demanding and they're dictating. Nobody asked me if I like what they're putting into place. And frankly, if we're talking about those numbers again that we've talked about earlier, if we're talking about 70, 80, 90 million people who have a different attitude about certain things, how come their side's not getting fair treatment and equal consideration for what they believe and stand for? Because the government is for all people, not just for one-sided view. So,
no, I am so glad you brought that up, because we're a split nation right now.
Absolutely.
And we're not just split politically, we're also split with our faith and our beliefs and the moral value that this country was founded on.
Absolutely. And I think, if we look across, again, the spectrum of time and see how things have developed and how we've moved further and further away from the foundations of what makes the character of our nation. We've moved away from God. We took the Bible out of the school systems. We took prayer out of the schools. We took and what we've included and what we've turned is we don't teach our kids the importance of math and English and those kinds of things anymore. What we're teaching them is social modification.
Yes.
We're teaching them things about what you as a teacher or you as a system consider appropriate, rather than allowing parents to continue to teach them what they should be teaching. And then and forgive me, parents, if you get upset with me, I'm sorry, but you got to hear this. When you let go of your children and let somebody else take care of them, and you're destined to deal with what those kids come from. And I'm not talking about I went to college during the 60s and 70s, and I can guarantee you that the society that developed from that time frame is absolutely horrendous to the freedoms of this nation. We developed in that particular time frame, there were kids that came out of stable, good family backgrounds, and somewhere they went completely haywire. And sometimes it drives me crazy when I'm watching a movie or a television program or something, and they talk back about the wondrous time the 60s were. I remember going to Vietnam in 1968, and when I came back and went back to college in 1969, I looked around me and I said, "What in the world has happened?" Because everything changed in the aspect of how people conducted themselves. I mean, I remember standing in the group locker room, the showers where all the football players, after a heavy day of practice, I'm standing there taking a shower, shampooing, and I did have some hair in those days. And I was shampooing my hair, and I was rinsing off, and I got rinsed off, and I turned around and looked. There's two girls completely naked in the same locker shower room with me and a couple of other guys. And I'm going, what is going on here? And that was kind of the mindset of that day. I mean, there was no rules. Nobody wanted to follow any rules. I mean, we had Earth Day, was everybody running around naked on campus. I mean, craziness. And that stuff, some of those people are running the country now.
Yes.
And
unfortunately.
Yeah. So.
But there was the start of the decay and the decadence, but now the bus has got the front wheels over the cliff. I mean, everything that this administration, and I'm going to point my finger at this administration, wants to do is absolutely, I think, destroy the rest of the fabric of morality in this country. Am I wrong?
No, I agree with you. I think, just listening to what's going on, and listening to the things and plans that they've got in place, and they've taken away all of the foundational strengths of the country. They've taken... I think that's what our president, our former president, Donald Trump, dealt with, is they hated him because he was not about to go in the direction they wanted to go. And they did everything, and they're continuing to do everything they can to destroy him and all of those who have the same mindset or attitude about him as he has. And I'd like to go back to the old days in the sense that we still had some freedoms and strengths.
And respect for each other.
Respect for each other, reverence. I mean, if you, I'm not going to force you to believe what I believe. We can talk about it. Hopefully, I can have some influence, and hopefully we can together agree on some things. But if we don't agree, we we wind up not agreeing. We agree to disagree, and we continue to living with one another. We don't have to throw bombs at each other.
Let me throw something else at you quickly, and I want to end the segment, of course, talking about Holy Week, but I made the comment, and I'll stand behind my thoughts. I was criticized the other day when I denigrated the University of Michigan in the NCAA tournament for wearing a patch on their jerseys highlighting and celebrating Black Lives Matter. This is an organization and a group that absolutely is a Marxist hate group that hates our Constitution, hates family values and Christianity in this country. And here we have a major college basketball team highlighting and celebrating Black Lives Matter on their uniform. I found that degrading, and I was glad they got beat last night.
Well, I didn't get a chance to watch any of the basketball, but I'll tell you this. It seems to have permeated everything from the beginning of kneeling to protest the police, apparently against Black Lives Matter, from all of a sudden I've lost all my respect for the professional football people and the NFL as a total. I know that there's some good people in there, but it was kind of interesting to me that even early on when some of the players did stand up and they got jumped on, all of a sudden they backed off and backpedaled their positions, and then all of a sudden I'm watching a baseball game in San Francisco and the guys are starting to kneel, and I'm going, and then I just started thinking to myself, if these college kids start kneeling, I'm never going to watch any sports ever again. I mean, it's driving me crazy. What is this about? To me, the whole idea of sports is sports.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're not, I'm not in there to make a political statement. I'm there to get in there and mix it up. I loved it when I played the game. I loved the contact. I loved the, coming off the field bleeding from my nose myself, but making sure I did a good job and struggling through all of that. And at the end of the game, we all got together, we shook hands, we thanked each other and I tell you what, my last couple of years of college, played in football, we got the snot beat out of us almost every game. I mean, I remember my junior year, it was a 2-win season out of 10 games. And you scratch your head, but I loved the opportunity. And, that was, I didn't walk around complaining, that somebody has done this or somebody's done that. Play the game. And I think we've seen that all of a sudden we've got commercials on television with men running in women's races. And I'm going, what has happened to us?
We have lost the ability to use, I think, the talent and all the blessing that God has given us. And it's much easier today to whine and pine about what you want instead of what you have. Be thankful for.
Absolutely. And I can complain if I don't like what I'm served at a meal. Okay. Yeah. And my wife, poor gal, sometimes, I do.
You got to be careful now. She's out in the other room.
She's out in the other room, and I'll get a punch in the ear for it. But it's okay. I mean, but you learn you learn how to temper yourself, and because I love her with all my heart, and so I don't want to hurt her feelings whatsoever, but I'm also honest, and if I go to a restaurant where the situation is unclean, or I go to the bathroom and the men's room is a pigsty, and the floor's got trash and napkins laying all over them because nobody stops for a minute to pick it up, I think to myself, hey, somebody's got to say something, somebody's got to do something, but this is a reflection of our society today. I think the lack of respect for our property, or lack of respect, drive through some of the neighborhoods and look what's going on. Who's parking there? Why do you need to park a car with no wheels on it in your front yard? I don't understand these kinds of things. Where have we gone wrong in the sense that we have forgotten how to be self-respectful?
Personal pride.
Absolutely. And I'm not talking about pride of, pride goes before the fall in Proverbs. I'm talking about pride that means that you're going to take care of things properly and do what you've called to do. Take responsibility for what you've been taught and raised up to believe and do, Well, that kind of leads me right in that last line. Christ took responsibility for all of us. Absolutely.
On the cross.
Absolutely. This morning, as I was doing my morning devotions, I looked at Luke chapter 19, verses 41 through 48. And if I may, Zeb, I want to read those.
Go right ahead.
Because they reflect so much in my mind what's going on right now. And when he drew near and saw the city, and it's talking about Jerusalem, he wept over it, saying, Would that you, even you, had known on this day the things that make for peace, but now they are hidden from your eyes. For the days will come upon you when your enemies will set up a barricade around you and surround you and hem you in on every side and tear you down to the ground, you and your children within you, and they will not leave one stone upon another in you, because you did not know the time of your visitation. And he entered the temple and began to drive out those who sold, saying to them, It is written, my house shall be a house of prayer, but you have made it a den of robbers. And he was teaching daily in the temple. The chief priests and the scribes and the principal men of the people were seeking to destroy him. But they did not find anything they could do, for all the people were hanging on his words. This passage of Scripture talks about that last week, this Holy Week that we celebrate now, as Jesus comes into Jerusalem. He's heartbroken because he's called the people to God, and many of them have turned away. First, those people that cheered him as he came on the road that we celebrated on Monday, that we celebrated on Palm Sunday. Now on Monday, Thursday, he's preparing the Last Supper. He's dealing with his men, and he's praying with them, and he's teaching them. And he's heartbroken because he's in the city and he's watching things going on. And he gets to the temple, and their money changers are there, and they're dealing with exchange rates that are stealing from people. People are not getting the proper exchange rate. And then they're having to buy the right kinds of sacrificial creatures, the birds and the lambs, etc. And they're not paying decent prices for them. They're paying exorbitant prices for them. People are getting cheated by the people that are supposed to be taking care of them, watching over them. And I think it's a reflection of where we are in our society. What has happened to our people? What has happened to our government? What has happened to people taking care of people? And in this week, we go back and we look back to that. And we hear Jesus speak. And we hear him tell us the story about how important it is to love each other and care for each other and take care of each other. So much so that on Friday, he will give his life for that very cause of love.
Amen. Amen. And then, of course, Sunday,
the resurrection,
Easter, the
empty tomb.
Right.
Hallelujah. Glory to God. Christ is risen. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
And we will praise God and thank God and rejoice and celebrate that gift, because what Christ did on the cross was victory.
Let me ask you, we mentioned this a little bit last week, and I want you to feature a little bit more of a highlight to it. Easter, when I was growing up back in Wisconsin, I mean, it was very prominent with my folks. I'm telling you that Friday afternoon, my dad had work stopped. They let everybody off. They came home. My dad cleaned up, showered. We were all ready to go, and we went to church at 3 p.m. on Friday afternoon, Good Friday.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, on Easter Sunday, we went to the early service, which started at 7 a.m., and when you're a kid, that's like dragging you through a knothole. And I'll guarantee you those memories and the commemoration and celebration of Easter was so much stronger back then.
And it's the foundations that are established by, you said your dad, your mom, that's the foundations that are established by the parents. When I was growing up, it was the same thing. We had to go. We were told to go, and our dad made sure that everything was ready to go. Unfortunately, I lost my mom as an infant, but my father continued to carry on the responsibility for raising me in the proper way. And I remember how important he made it for me. And I remember very vividly that time when he sat me down and he said, and this was right around the Christmas time, actually. And he said, this is a wonderful season of the year because we celebrate the birth of the Savior of all mankind. But I never want you to forget what's coming. Easter. Because Easter is the day that he won the victory for us, the empty tomb. It is the greatest holy day in the year. It's the one we need to remember the most because it's the one upon which the greatest sacrifice was ever made for mankind.
Absolutely. Pastor, we've got a little bit less than a minute and a half left, and I would really appreciate a sincere prayer for this Holy Week and especially Easter Sunday.
Gracious and Heavenly Father, we give you thanks and praise for your beloved Son, Jesus Christ, whom you sent to this earth to take on our flesh, to take on the responsibility of guiding us in the righteousness and truth of your truth word. He is the Word himself, Jesus Christ. He walked this earth. He showed us how to live, how to love, and how to sacrifice. He told us that we were not to worry about tomorrow, that it would take care of itself. He also told us that because of him, we would have trouble. And Lord, we do have trouble. We need your help. But in this great moment, in this week, in this time that we should all celebrate the blessings that we have in you, Lord, through your Son, Jesus Christ, we have the opportunity to lift our voices, to sing in glorious praise of you, to thank you, Lord, for what your Son has done for us. And if we just look to him, if we continue to look up to the cross, if we continue to remember all that he sacrificed and gave for us, and then follow those things which he has taught us, how much better this life would be, and what a glorious gift it will be for all of us who accept Christ as Lord and God. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
I am blessed on this program to once every week on Wednesday have this great man on my show. He's a friend and a great pastor of the Zion Lutheran Church in Burley, Pastor Alex Lissau, and this segment, Why Not God?
Amen.
Remember that this Easter weekend. Pastor, the very best to you.
And to you as well.
Thank you, my friend.
God bless you.
We send it back now to our main studios. We'll be back with Dr. Vermel Green in just a few moments.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KVAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
I really enjoy that segment with Pastor Lissau. Thank you very much. And right now, we're going to jump into another really good segment with a child development author, Dr. Vermel Green, author of Please Teach Me Like I'm a Boy, 10 Steps to His Success in School and in Life. Dr. Green, good morning to you.
Well, for us in Maryland, it's good afternoon, my brother, but that's okay.
You know, back...
I tell you, your last guest makes me want to move out to Idaho. Powerful man of God.
Well, thank you, and I'll be sure and tell him that. Now, you're back in Maryland. My goodness, what's the weather like back there on the East Coast?
Oh, it's springtime, which means like one day it might be 80, the next day it might be 40, and the next day it might be 70. So it's kind of up and down, but it's getting ready to rain, and that's okay. We need it.
Dr. Green, it goes without saying, and I'll just say from my standpoint, that our society is being turned upside down and pulled apart. And young people, they actually have no clue as to what they are or what they need to respect. When it comes to boys, I feel really a strong compassion for the young men because they're told not to be masculine, they're told not to do this, that, or the other. How bad is the crisis for young boys and men in our society?
The crisis is huge, and it's getting worse. I tell you, the devil is really pulling out all of his heavy armor and armament against our boys. You know, it goes all the way back to the days of Pharaoh, when Pharaoh says, throw all the boy babies into the Nile, because he knew that when you destroy the men, when you destroy the boys who will one day be the men, you can weaken the whole culture, and it's easily controlled. And that's what's happened now. This is a spiritual battle. But I tell you, God is still in control, and so we will run out. But we really need to advocate for our boys at all levels, in education, in government, in society. Our boys need help.
When you say they need help, how are we going to give the boys help to grow up to be strong men, leaders of the household, go out and apply all the talent God gave them to have a great, successful career? How do we implement that back into society when every day they're being deluged by a liberal media that says they should be less than what they are?
The best thing that parents and teachers can do for boys is first get them to listen to you. And in order to do that, you have to build a bond with him. You have to spend time with him doing the kinds of things that boys like to do. You know, be it wrestling on the floor, parents, or, you know, just trading verbal teasing back and forth. Back in our day, they used to call it playing the dozens, or an old-fashioned term also was like joning, where you kind of tease good-naturedly. And also playing soccer, playing basketball. And while you're out there on the court or out there on the field, you're speaking into their lives, building that bond. And once you've built that bond with boys, parents, you can shield them from the voices that are coming from outside your family, because they will have built that bond with you and you speaking into their lives. And also teachers who want to help boys, who want to be able to teach them how to be men of character, good character, and be able to teach them and about reading and how to read and write and do arithmetic. You also have to build a bond with a boy, because if he doesn't respect you, if he doesn't feel you respect him in return, then he's not going to listen to anything you say. So that has to be step number one, Zeb.
Let me ask you this question. The two words, masculinity and femininity, why have they been dragged through the mud as of late and diminished? Why are we not respecting who we are?
Again, it's the enemy of this world thumbing its nose at the things of God and bringing people along who are really too ignorant of how things are created the way we were created, and thumbing our nose at God's creation. God created man and female. And so when we stand up and we create laws like this Equality Act that's coming, I hope you've been informing your readers to contact their senators.
Right.
Not your readers, but your listeners, to contact their senators to say, vote no, because, again, this is an attack on masculinity and femininity. The fact that girls won't be able to compete with other girls. They have to compete with boys who think that they're girls. And also even with the bathrooms and even in schools. So many times, schools say, well, the best way to teach boys is perhaps gather them together so we can teach them the way that they learn, which is different than the way girls learn. But laws such as this Equality Act would make that so hard, because unfortunately you might get some parent who says, well, no, my little girl thinks she's a boy and she should be right in there with those classes with them. It defeats the whole purpose of us being able to teach boys and teach girls in the way that fits each of their learning differences.
Now, you make a statement, and I was really intrigued by this, that boys actually do learn differently in classroom settings and in life, differently than girls. Would you explain that a little bit?
Absolutely. The way that boys' brains operate and process information is different from girls. It's differences that came even from conception with the X chromosome, the XX chromosome, the XY chromosome, that there are certain traits that are on the Y chromosome that are not on, that the girls don't get. I tell you an example. With boys, their brains don't develop in the same way as girls in regards to the language centers. Language is centered in males on just one side of the brain. Girls have language on both sides of their brains. So with boys, when it comes to reading and writing that taps into those language centers, they sometimes develop a little bit behind our girls. Now, I'm speaking in generalities. There are some boys who talk early and also read and write early, but most times girls will out-talk, out-read, out-write their counterparts, especially in the early grades. Boys naturally are bent to movement. Their bodies are made that way. If you sit them in a chair and expect them to sit all day and just want to raise their hand, and they want to get up and move and crawl around on the floor and punch and wrestle with their friends. Girls, on the other hand, they will be perfectly content, most of them, again, to just sit and kind of talk with their friends and bond. That's how, again, the differences in how they bond. Girls bond through talking and, just sharing their hearts with each other. That's not how boys bond. Jeb, when you want to bond with a buddy, you don't say, well, I'd like to have a relationship with you. No, that's girl talk. But men, they want to go out and do things together. That's how how they bond. Also, in regards to reading is so important for our boys to learn, but yet they struggle, and the way reading is taught across this country is not connecting with the way that boys learn. The best way to teach boys how to learn is through phonics, systemic, explicit phonics, and not this whole language stuff. Our girls, they're making it, and they're scoring better than boys on these reading tests. But even some of them are struggling with the way reading is done. Hormonally, they're different. That girls are naturally people pleasers. You know, they want to bond with their teacher. They want to please the teacher. So when the teacher says you're going to learn this, hey, it's good enough the teacher said it. But with boys, they're going to challenge you. They're going to say, well, why do we need to learn this? I don't see why this is important. You know, until they get sophisticated enough to know if you want the grade, you better do what the teacher says. At the younger grades, they haven't learned that, and they're going to go to their natural selves.
But the problem I see, and I really enjoyed that last part of your dissertation this morning, but it brought to mind a question.
You get me started, Zeb, and I'm going to go on.
You're more than welcome to, but let me ask you this question. It's great to say what needs to be done for the boys versus the difference in girls, etc., and vice versa, but the entire education system is geared not to do it that way. The teachers today are not going to help the matter.
And a big part of that is when you look at teachers, that 79% of educators are overwhelmingly female, and in regards to our boys of color, overwhelmingly white.
That's right.
So not only do you have the gender difference there, but you also have the cultural difference as well. Women, you know, we're going to teach the way that we learn. And so the way that our female teachers are teaching are connecting with the girls, but not so with the boys. But women can still teach the boys the way that the boys can learn if they've been trained, but they're not even trained. I was in education for a lot of years, and it wasn't until I retired that I even realized that boys learn differently than girls, because I had never learned that in undergraduate school, in training, even as a school administrator. No one ever told us this. It's like a deep, dark secret. And so once we wake up teachers, they say, wait a minute, then that's why Johnny does this and Susie does this. You know, that explains, and they don't want their children to fail. They don't want their boys to fail. They don't want to keep putting boys into special education and denying them an opportunity to be in the talented and gifted classes. Teachers want to help, but they've got to be taught. They've got to be trained themselves. So I urge teachers, if they're not teaching you this in your staff development and your professional development and your graduate courses, then go out. There are resources out there everywhere. Come visit us at theboysinitiative.org. We have resources, and we have articles that will show you and train you on how to teach your boys.
Let me ask you this. Would you say that the reason we're having problems, big problems, with the now woke generation is because of what we're talking about right now?
I think a big part of it is that, again, I really think this is a spiritual attack on our boys, denying them, as you said, their masculinity, or calling it toxic, that there's something wrong with them, that these boys need to be medicated into submission. You know, they're ADD, ADHD, EDD, ODD. They've got all kind of acronyms saying that boys who are normally just acting the way that God made them, that there must be something wrong with them because they're not more like girls. I think also the criticisms of fathers. Oh, my goodness, I think that is at the root, Zeb, of every societal problem, fatherlessness. When it comes to fathers or fathers who are in a home who have not assumed their position of authority. And I'm not talking about lording it over or cruelty, whatever, but authority to protect their families from the forces out there in society that are attacking their forces, attacking their sons, attacking their daughters. And without strong fathers, strong godly fathers in the home, then the family becomes easy pickings for those with a different agenda. So our fathers need to stand up for their families. They need to advocate for their sons. They need to advocate also moms. Oh, moms, you have a really special role. The feminists, they were able to overturn education, curricula, all to help the girls. And that's fine. We want to help the girls. I used to be a little girl. Help them to succeed. However, this is not a zero-sum game. Just because we help the girls doesn't mean we can't help the boys. We can help the boys, too. So, moms, advocate for your sons. Stop listening to those teachers who say, Mrs. So-and-so, he won't focus. Perhaps you need to get him evaluated by his doctor. Perhaps he needs medication. He just doesn't cooperate, whatever. You need to turn it back on the teacher. Why don't you, as my book title says, why don't you teach him like he's a boy and stop trying to turn him into one of your female students?
Absolutely. Dr. Green, to go with what's happening daily to our country on our borders with an absolute open border policy and illegal aliens and children coming in, and it's absolutely horrendous what is happening. Right there is a case in point for strong mothers and fathers. Evidently, in other countries, they're having a worse problem than we are.
It seems that way, and that's what happens when a nation forgets its foundation, if its foundation is built on God. These people coming in, come on in, immigrants. We love you. However, there is a right way. America is a nation of laws, and if you're going to come to this country and your introduction to this country is breaking our laws, then that tells us already that perhaps you aren't quite up to where we want you to be in regards to becoming a citizen in this country. We have laws, and we need to respect our laws. And also, parents, I know that you want the best for your children, but teaching your children, and I'm speaking to parents of other countries coming in, if they can understand me, I'm thinking, if you want your children to do well, then you have to show them that America is a nation of laws. There are certain rules that are in place. We have to follow those rules in order to succeed. A nation was built on God. So that is another thing. We are built on faith. That is our heritage. So if you're coming in with a heritage that is not godly, then again, you need to rethink, is America really where you need to be? So I really pray for those children, those little babies. They can't decide. I fault the adults in their lives who aren't showing them through their actions what they need to do in order to be successful in life.
Absolutely. I wish I had more time, but I want to extend to you a blessing and also that you'll come back soon. Dr. Vermel Green, author of the book, Please Teach Me Like I'm a Boy, 10 Steps to His Success in School and in Life. You are a treasure. Thank you for being on the program.
Zeb, thank you so much for inviting me. I invite your listeners to visit us at theboysinitiative.org. My book is available on Amazon.com. Please teach me like I'm a boy. Zeb, please have a happy Resurrection Day.
God bless you and happy Easter right back at you. Thank you so much.
Take care.
A wonderful lady, Dr. Vermel Green, and the book is entitled Please Teach Me Like I'm a Boy, 10 Steps to His Success in School and in Life. Common sense. Gee whiz, what were those words again? Common sense. Maybe we should try to remember that. Oh, maybe send those two words in a note back to Washington, D.C. in care of the President and the Vice President. Time for the weather. And before we do the weather, I want to talk a little bit about Edith's Cafe. Oh, I'm telling you folks, good eating at Edith's Cafe, 144 East Highway 81 in Burley. Oh, had the ribeye and all the trimmings, and then, of course, the peach cobbler a la mode for dessert. Yeah, boy, I'm in Heaven City right there. They're open Tuesday through Thursday, 11 to 8, Friday and Saturday, 11 to 9. And like I said, they're located at 144 East Highway 81, right across from the golf course in Burley. They do catering, and I'll tell you what, they handle call-in orders. Oh my goodness, you're going to love the food and nice people to boot. Edith's Cafe, 144 East Highway 81 in Burley. Time for the weather. And I think we're in for a treat. It's going to get better and better and better. Scarro's Meats brings us the weather. Don Scarrow and the crew at 331 North Road, Jerome. The telephone number to call, 324-7657. You can go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com, and look at the list upon list upon list of all the delicious meats, whether it's all the different flavors of bacon or the sausages, the bratwurst, the tri-tips, the marinated pork ribs. Oh, the list goes on and on. Great, great eating with Scarro's Meats. We'll have more right after the weather. Here's Gina.
Lots of sunshine and warming temperatures as we make our way through the week. Here is a look at your weather forecast. Today we are expecting sunny skies, a slight breeze out of the east, and a high of 57. Tonight, nice and clear with a low of 25. Tomorrow, sunshine, high of 69, a slight breeze out of the east. And for tomorrow night, clear skies with a low of 38. By Friday, sunny and 75. And by Saturday, looks like we could see a high of 80. That's look at your weather. For Debbie Duran.
She does a great job on that weather forecast, and I'm looking out the window, and I do not see a cloud out that window. Good-looking day and more on the way. Hey, listen, thank you, Don Scarrow and Scarrow's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. They are, of course, changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Scarrow's Meats, 324-7657. Wow. I'm going to be here tomorrow, by the way. It's interesting. Thursday with Zeb back in the saddle. And let me take a look and I'll wait for some more phone calls. Give me a jingle on the landline. Tomorrow, what have we got cooking? We're going to be talking to Jerome County Commissioner Charlie Howell. We're going to have Cassia County School Days. I believe Dr. James Shank is going to be on. And then we have a lady that I really enjoy because she tells it like it is. Karen Cataline is going to be on tomorrow, along with all of our other segments on Thursday. So don't miss that. And like I said, kind of an oddity. I'm going to be here on Thursday tomorrow, and should be interesting. Going to have a lot of fun. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle. We'll talk about anything you want to talk about over the next couple of minutes. I do have one thing I want to mention and highlight. It's really, really important, and we missed it. I mean, we have our lunch bunchers that absolutely were chomping on the bit to get back involved with Lunch Bunch. Well, tomorrow is the day. We're going to start up again at 11:30 tomorrow. Zeb's Lunch Bunch returns after all this COVID mess and everything else. We're going back, and we're going to be at Denny's Restaurant at 611 North Overland in Burley. Don't forget, we're going to have great prizes. We're going to have a special prize to the person that wears the wildest Mad Hatter prize. We're going to have prizes for the person that brings the most people. We're going to have other door prizes. It's April Fool's, April 1st, but it's not an April Fool. We're going to be at Denny's Restaurant having a lot of fun and great food, great people. 611 North Overland in Burley tomorrow at 11:30. Be there, please. I want to give a great big shout out to our major sponsor, and that's, of course, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. I'm telling you, folks, you drive in and the door swings open and woof, they're right there at a high low. May we help you? Absolutely. 7 locations serving you, and right now at the Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, they've got a great big spring tire sale. Oh, my. All the tires, all the tread designs, all the sizes for all vehicles deals. This spring tire sale, you better get in there and check out the savings today. Now, along with that, if you don't know, I'll tell you, they've got highly trained brake technicians, great brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts and batteries, all of this and more at all 7 locations. James in Buell, Dan on Pole Line in Twin Falls, Lane in Rupert, Mike in Jerome, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, the Twist family in Paul, and my buddy Trent on Overland in Burley. Yes, sirree. All 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Let me take a look on our list today. Our Bible verse, as we always end the program, is from Romans 3, verse 10, and this fits right in. As the Scriptures say, no one is good. No one in all the world is innocent. Think about it. That's our Bible verse for today. I wanted to say something else, and I forgot what it was. Tomorrow with all our guests, and then, of course, don't forget, too, this is Holy Week. I want to reiterate what Pastor Lissau said earlier this morning with all the things going on at your church to celebrate Easter weekend. Get involved, take the family, and be a part of a Christian community. We always end the program by saying the way things were are the way things ought to be. And the 4 words that mean the most to me, in God we trust. I want to thank my engineer, Sean, over at the station, and we'll be back tomorrow morning at 8:06 for more Zeb at the Ranch on ZebBell.com and 12:30 a.m. K-Bar Radio. Thank you much. We'll see you tomorrow morning.